South Africa's entry into the Second World War. If you could talk to that.
You obviously had the two different camps. You had Herzog and the whole neutrality camp that didn't want to get involved in any sort of future European conflict. And then you had the loyal to the Commonwealth, loyal to the Crown, who wanted to actively participate in the war. And we know it came out to a vote in Parliament and they won. There was a motion, Herzog resigned and Smith was asked to form a new government. And then all of a sudden, everything starts gearing up. The Department of Defense is almost overhauled. Smith brings in his, I'd like to call him his ring of support, or those trusted sort of lieutenants that he has around him. He brings in Major General Collier to write a very critical report on the state of the Defence Force and what needs to be done to bring it up to war footing. So from September 1939 until about mid-1940, South Africa undergoes quite a rapid transformation. So you can imagine it's an aging Defence Force. There was not much that had happened in the interwar period, especially the army was in a bad state from the artillery guns. So it was not a good place. So they managed to start turning it around. And then, of course, the threat now in Africa was Italy. It had not yet joined the war. In June 1940 it did. But South Africa was now starting to think that this would be their potential adversary. It was actually, I think it was already indicated as much. So there's two very good primary documents in the archive that actually, it's two intelligence reports on East Africa and possible war with Italy, where they sketch out the entire theatre, the threat scenarios, the forces, whatever they've got, and possible forms of action that would be taken. So Smuts was very adamant that South Africa should play an active part in the war, and he constantly tried to secure an active role for the South Africans. So very early on, he already offered South African troops for the British to help protect British East Africa, Kenya specifically. Initially, the British said no, it's not needed. But and I think from about March or April 1940, just before the Italians sort of joined the war effort, they eventually said yes, please help send us troops. So the first South African unit starts moving into East Africa mid-1940. Italy joins the war June 1940. And shortly thereafter, it launches a number of surprise attacks, 3 surprise attacks in East Africa. That throws the British defense into total confusion. And the Italians managed to capture a little bit of territory. So that sort of signals the South African entry into the campaign. And the first South African division is then earmarked to deploy there. But it was a very incremental deployment. So you have certain brigades arriving at different periods. But by the end, I'd say from about October, the whole division, November, the whole division is then in country in Kenya and waiting for the offensive operations to start in early 1941.